All right, we're back. It's another episode of We Are One, You Are Two, a PlayStation podcast. In fact, it is episode 65, I believe.
Ooh-wee.
And so I am your host, as always, Rob Fanzo, joined with by a man who knows more about Fortnite probably than Fortnite itself, Matt Rhodes.
I don't know. Ninja might have something to say about that. He might,
but he doesn't listen to us, so it doesn't matter.
That's true. You're right.
If he listens to us, I'd be horrified.
Right? Hey-oh, by the way.
Yeah, so how you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little sore. I'm super sore, actually. Yeah, I think I
went to the gym.
Pulled a muscle today at CrossFit, I think. So.
Pulled a muscle. That's always fun.
Well, that's what happens when you get old. Yeah, sometimes I pull a muscle getting out of bed, it feels like. All right. So we've got a great show lined up for people today, Matt. We are going to talk about state of play, truthfully. That's going to be the big focus. I've had a little bit of other news that I want to cover and touch on, just personal stuff that I think is exciting that was out this week for PlayStation. But the main focus will be state of play, and then certainly I think we should touch a little bit on Ghost Recon, which had a reveal trailer as well. And so, I've been trying to decide what to call this episode. I almost feel like I want to call it, E3 comes early, or... something along the lines of, do we need E3 anymore? And I feel like people will get fired up about that. But, I'll think of something catchy. We'll think of something catchy. It definitely feels like there was a lot of stuff covered over the last couple of days to the point where, I think if Sony was smart, they would do this one more time in like June. Next month, right before E3. They could be like, oh, yeah, we're not going to be there, but look at in the last 2 months how much information we've given you.
Yeah.
And so I guess I don't want to kind of stray too far from tradition. I was ready to jump into the topics and the news, but maybe we should touch on a little bit of what we've been playing first.
That's fine. You know me. I've been playing some Fortnite, some Rocket League, and some Division with you. I feel like that's all we got to this week. Yeah,
we did get a lot of Division in.
We did. Oh, man.
We finished it. We're in the end game now.
That end game is it's so much fun.
It's inevitable, yeah.
Yeah. I'm really shocked at how much I'm really enjoying it, because it really is like a new game.
Oh, yeah. It made me feel defeated, actually, like I hadn't done anything for the last 30 hours.
Exactly. Oh, man. What have you been playing?
I did a little bit of Rocket League yesterday. I've been doing 2 or 3 games a day, and I've been winning at least 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3.
Yeah,
and then I stop, and so it's actually helped me level up to Diamond.
I've been trying to do that as well. I've been trying to be more level-headed about it, and just be like, screw it, let me just play like 1 or 2, and then if I get on like a 2, 3, like a 3 or 4 game win streak, I'll just play until I lose.
Yeah,
and just be done.
Yeah, and it's a really good way, actually, I think, to rank up and not lose your cool and gamble till you go all the way back down.
Yeah,
and so I've been doing that. I played a ton of Devil May Cry. I started this week on missions 6 or 7, and I'm on like 15 now.
Wow.
And I realized that those missions are way longer, because I played for like quite a period of time the other day, and I thought, I'll finish the game today. I did not get close.
Yeah.
And so, one of the missions I've replayed 3 times because there's a trophy for play with each character.
Yeah.
And each character has different movesets, abilities, and a slightly different path sometimes. And so I thought, I'll just try it out and see what it's like with the other 2. And I'll get that trophy at the same time. And so I did that. I finished God's Trigger, and so I'm going to spend about 2 minutes later talking about that. We'll do a 2-minute review for that.
Nice.
2.5 minute review, and I'll talk a little bit about God's Trigger. I thought I could finish it before our next podcast, and I did. So I want to talk about that as well. And why I'll keep going back to it, I think. And that's really it, I guess. I can't think of anything else. Not even on my Vita. I was trying to think if I played anything on my Vita, but I don't think I have. I touched a little bit of one game on my Vita, and that was about it. So not really, not enough to qualify it.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, Fortnite had those overtime challenges that, gave you different skins or like modifications to skins that you already have. And then, the new season came out. So, it's been kind of hard to pull away from that when a new season starts, and they have so many map changes and stuff like that. So,
yeah, and you want to rank up. I get that.
Yeah, exactly. So
earn that battle pass stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, is that it for you?
That's it for me. I will say one thing before we move on.
Sure.
Looking at the stats of the Division 2, NPC kills 3,941 and headshots 6,746.
Wow.
And that was what? How many hours do you think we played the end game? Like maybe 2?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of death.
It is. I didn't realize there were that many guys running around DC that were enemies.
Yeah, right.
And that's the kind of the funny, like that's the Ludo narrative dissonance, right? Like you're running around defending these people, fighting these people, but yet they're an endless supply.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you can kill them endlessly, and that's what always makes me laugh about a game like that.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how many people have murdered in Assassin's Creed Odyssey at this point too.
Yep, there's a lot of that.
So let's move. Let's move briefly on to the PS-news, so we can spend a little bit of time talking about some of that. And I'm only going to cover a little bit because I really want to talk about our topics today.
I was going to say most of the news is in the state of play, I guess.
Yeah, and so I'm actually not going to read a whole lot of that because we're going to talk it through.
Yeah, sure.
This is stuff that is outside of that, so that we can talk about that separately. First and foremost, the God of War PS4 documentary is now available to watch on YouTube.
Ooh, I saw that. I was tempted to start watching that.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that. I sent you a clip, I don't know if you watched it yet, of Kratos and Freya when they're interacting in the house.
Yeah, it's like behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, and he goes to, they're doing the voice acting, and she tells him to go fetch something. And you know how those fetch quests are. Everybody hates those.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, as he's walking out the door, he mumbles, I am the effing God of War. Like, why am I doing this, you know?
Exactly.
And so I almost kind of wish there was, and somebody mentioned this in the comments, I wish there was like a New Game Plus where you could turn on like unedited, unscripted commentary.
Yeah.
And you could play with the lines that they recorded like that they cut.
Yeah.
So that I could hear him say that as I'm playing the game. I think that would be fantastic. So, but I will be watching that at some point. It looks really cool. It's 2 hours long.
Yeah.
For people who are interested. So you sit down, get some popcorn. You're going to be there a while. I wanted to mention that. The other thing that I wanted to mention, two things. One, Apex Legends patch 1.08 is causing crashes on PS4. That was announced yesterday on Thursday. However, they're aware of it and they're going to patch it. And so I imagine you'll probably get 1.09 pretty soon so that they don't accidentally continue to brick people's PS4s or crash their PS4s. Crash them, I should say. Not
Come on, Apex, get it together, man.
I know. That's a game I need to jump back into, but
yeah.
I'll get
not if they're bricking systems.
Yeah. No, it's crashing the system. I shouldn't say bricking.
Okay.
I don't want to cause hysteria. So that's the second piece of news. The third piece of news I thought was really interesting because I bet if you went back, and I don't remember what episode it's on, but remember when I was playing the Hong Kong Massacre?
Okay.
And I was talking about it, and I said, you know what would be great? If someone went and made a John Wick top-down shooter, because those movies are so perfect for playing, because, I mean, it's gun fu, right? Or
right, of course.
Gun fu. And so I said somebody would be well and wise to make, with John Wick being such like a pop culture hit, the third one coming out on May 17th, I will be there to see it, that they should make a game. Well, lo and behold, a couple of nights ago, Mike Bithell, who created, I don't know if you ever played Thomas Was Alone or Volume.
I had never played Thomas Was Alone, but I've definitely seen gameplay of it.
Thomas Alone, brilliant game. Volume, pretty good game as well. I liked it. I didn't finish it. I finished Thomas Was Alone on my Vita. It was fantastic. So witty and so well done. Mike Bithell announced he's creating a John Wick game called John Wick Hex. And the goal is to emulate the action and gunplay of the movies. And it looks like you actually strategically plot out your moves and time to strike, and then you actually go ahead and execute it. So it looks like there's a little bit of pre-planning.
Interesting.
Right? And so it might be a little bit of like strategy, RPG type turn-based thing. I don't think it's going to be turn-based. I think it'll be maybe something where you plan out the moves, everything unfolds, and then if it doesn't succeed, it goes into live action.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool, wouldn't it?
I feel like it's a different take on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so I watched the trailer for it. It's got that very cel-shaded style that I like as well. And so it's not necessarily going for graphical realism, but I think with John Wick, because John Wick almost feels like a comic book, I think cel-shaded works really well. And so I'm really excited about that. He announced it. Twitter blew up. I would love to see more details of this as it goes along, but I am super excited about that because as a big fan of the John Wick movies, I think this was like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And I trust Bithell to do right by it because I've played Thomas Was Alone in Volume enough that I trust he knows what he's doing. And so I'm really excited about that. That's really it for what I had for the news for this week. Beyond that, there was, everybody's golf VR demo came out on the store, so that was exciting. I know Fortnite Season 9 started up. Kind of Funny announced they were going to have a game showcase for E3 2019. And so it was little stuff like that. And of course, like Persona 5 save data won't work with Persona 5 The Royale, which I don't know why you would think it would, but that was announced as well. Monster Hunter World announced 12 million units shipped. I thought that was a big deal too. Of course, EA, and this isn't really even news, announced that Anthem did not meet sales expectations. What a shocker.
What? It didn't.
I know. So that's what I mean. There wasn't anything I felt worth covering in depth like that. A lot of stuff that we kind of, you could know, right? You know Fortnite has a new season every couple of weeks. Common sense tells you Persona 5 Royale save is not going to work with Persona 4.
Right.
And so, all this stuff like that. The sales numbers, that's great and all that stuff, but not really worth, I think, spending our time on. What I do want to spend our time on, this is what we're going to move into next, is the topics we have for today. So let's move into that. All right. And so I want to talk a little bit about the state of play with Sony. You and I both watched it. And so,
we did. I'm currently
what did you think of
refreshing
it?
my memory.
Are you refreshed? I took notes on my phone, and so I have a whole list here.
Ooh, fancy.
Orderly. And so I guess maybe we'll just tackle these in order, and we can talk about what we said or what we think of each and our reaction. Monster Hunter World Velkhana was announced, or the monster, and then I think it was called Iceborne World, if I remember correctly. I wrote down Iceborne World. And so it's an expansion.
Monster Hunter World Iceborne.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It looks like it has new outfits, new weapons, new gadgets to me from watching the trailer. September 6th, it's an expansion, which means it's going to cost money, but it looks like it's a pretty hefty expansion.
Yeah, it looks pretty intense as far as like how much there is to do. Is it enough for you to jump back in? I don't know. It might be. I like the kind of. I think the snow and stuff will kind of remind me of Horizon a little bit, and like
I did get Horizon Zero Dawn vibes.
Yeah, right. And like their kind of their expansion, which was the Frozen Wilds. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I always liked Monster Hunter World. You and I had a blast playing it.
I think we sunk like 80 to 100 hours into it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we both played it a lot. So, and I don't know. I thought it was a really good game, and I thought, it definitely would be worth spending the money on again. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It seems like there's a lot to it. Doesn't seem like just kind of like a couple more skins or whatever, mm-hmm. like the free stuff they released. So
also announced, the second thing that came up was River Bond, which was like a hack and slash type game. Looks like pixel art, 4-player couch co-op, dungeon crawler type thing. Has a lot of guest skins that I'm kind of excited about. You know what I mean? Like Guacamelee was announced.
I was going to say, are you going to get it because they have a Guacamelee skin?
Well, I wanted it because it has Guacamelee, Bastion, Enter the Gungeon, and Shovel Knight, all as skins. And so that alone sold me on that. Plus, I like the hack and slash type stuff, and it looks kind of cutesy. And so I'm actually kind of excited to maybe play that one.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a neat little trailer. It looks like something I could waste time in, And so I'm kind of excited about that one as well. I'd be curious. The crossover skins are what's got me excited because it definitely looks like I said, it looked like Minecraft, but then it looks like a dungeon crawler like Diablo or something.
Right.
And so I could see that as being something that I just sink like 15, 20 minutes in here or there. In fact, that would have been a perfect Vita game.
Oh,
I would
absolutely.
say. Not now, but obviously. But it would have been that would have been a perfect Vita game. And so I'm kind of disappointed in that. But I definitely think it's one of those little indie games I'll probably play.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
Definitely seems like a game that would be right up your alley with the, shoot and slash everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love those sometimes. Sometimes they're just so relaxing.
Yeah, they're fun, just kind of like running around and destroying everything. That's why I like the Lego games so much.
Yeah, and that's what this looks like. This looks like the best of all of those worlds because, you can play a hack and slash like Devil May Cry, but when I'm doing that, I'm focused and I want the best S ranking or SSS ranking that I can get.
Exactly.
So it's like a pressured hack and slash, whereas something like this looks like the Neptunia games where I can just run around, beat the crap out of stuff, and just relax while I'm doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we didn't get gameplay of this next one, but they did announce, and I kind of surprised me here, was a cinematic pre-alpha trailer for a Predator game called Predator Hunting Grounds for 2020. And they said it was an asymmetrical shooter. And I was really surprised.
What does that mean exactly?
Asymmetrical?
Yeah.
Shooter? Well, you know what shooter means, I assume.
Yeah, of course, obviously.
Just making
and I know
sure.
what asymmetrical means, but I just don't understand how those go together.
How they go together?
Yeah. I don't know what kind of game that would be. Like, is there another...
So an example of asymmetrical would be Left 4 Dead or the Battlefield games. It's basically where one player, right, or faction players play the game differently from others. And I think so they were just trying to say that, that's kind of like those terms that's thrown around. But basically most of your multiplayer games in some regard, I shouldn't say most, are like that. Like Evolve is a good example of another asymmetrical game, right? Where like Friday the 13th would be another it's just basically, you control and do one thing, I control and do another thing. And so it's not really, in fact, actually, that Predator game is actually from the same studio that made Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I was about to say, that makes sense because it seemed very much like that. Because like one person's Predator and the other guys are trying to hunt him. So it seems like Friday the 13th.
Yeah, so asymmetrical is not, that's like a fancy word it's so funny because it's not thrown around anymore, but most of your multiplayer games are asymmetrical.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, that's at least the competitive ones like that, I guess, is a better way to say it. That was a good question. I should say next was Medieval was announced. No, I shouldn't say announced. We got an extended look at it and a date, October 25th.
Heyo.
So that's good. It's funny because we were just talking about how Sony doesn't really seem to have any first-party games coming out this year or any PlayStation exclusives coming out in the fall.
Yeah.
So I guess Medieval will be kind of like their smaller...
Kind of counts, I guess.
It does. I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Crash Team Racing next month.
Yeah.
And so, I may very well pre-order that. We'll see. I have no idea. But Medieval, I'm excited about. So that's actually up on the PlayStation Store, by the way. I just saw the news today. It is already up on the PlayStation 4, and it's $29.99.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, that's not bad at all. And so there is the Digital Deluxe Edition, which I think is $35 and gives you like an in-game armor set.
Yeah.
As well as a comic book, digital art book, original soundtrack, and a dynamic theme. And so you can get quite a bit for $35.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So for $30, that's about the right price for me to want to jump in and play something I haven't played in 20 years. Or 20, I think it's a 25, isn't it? Almost 25 years?
That can't be right.
It's close. I'm trying to think when the original Medieval came out. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, the PlayStation 1 is only like 10 years old.
PlayStation 1?
No, good Lord. What am I talking about? My brain, I'm like, my brain's not working.
1998 was the original Medieval. 97, 98. So it is 21, at least almost 22 years old.
98? Holy crap.
October 1st, 1998. There we go. I found the exact date.
Wow.
So 21 years old.
What?
Old enough to drink. So there you go.
Nuts.
Yeah. Next up was a survival series. I've seen this multiple times on Twitter where you're in control of that little like flying squirrel.
Yeah.
And I believe that's out already on other systems, is it not?
I do not know, actually.
I'd have to check on that. Don't quote me on that, but I'm kind of excited about that one just a little bit because it just looks kind of silly. And so that would be one I think I get on discount and mess around with. But you take control of that little sugar glider. I had to look it up what it was. It's a sugar glider.
That's what it's called?
Yeah.
Huh.
Sugar glider. So if you don't know anything about sugar gliders, they are small,
you'll learn,
omnivorous, arboreal, and nocturnal gliding possums belonging to the marsupial infraclass. Thank you, Wikipedia.
Yep. It's not. I just looked it up on Steam. It says coming soon. So
okay. Well, I've seen it on. That's the problem. I think I follow the dev on Twitter, and so I've been seeing gameplay for probably like 6 months to a year now.
Oh, okay.
And I just assumed it must have been out. So I'm kind of excited about that.
That was the one I would say out of all these state of play things, for me, that was like the game.
Wow. All right.
That stood out to me as like, man, I really want to play this game.
I was going to ask you afterwards what it was, and so that's interesting because I feel like the next two got me hyped, but particularly this next one because I actually, when it said, let's look at some new hardware, or I forget what the exact wordings were. Let's look at some hardware. I was like, what's Sony doing? Don't tell me they're going to drop like a surprise PS5 bomb, like what it looks like or something. And it was the Days of Play PlayStation Limited Edition.
I mean, that's nothing new. They've done this how many years in a row now?
Yeah.
Right?
Steel gray. It looks fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I know. I mean, if I can buy the controller separately, I will.
Yes, that's steel gray.
Oh, yeah. That looks awesome.
Yeah, as a whole, it looks beautiful. I would love to know. I didn't quite gather. I take it it's just a regular PS4, right? It's not a PS4 Pro.
It didn't say.
No, but the design that they showed was just a regular PS4.
Yeah.
And so I think they're probably just going to do a regular PS4. If it was a PS4 Pro, I'd be tempted. But, it was funny because they said, oh, no, we're not going to talk about PS5. But then they said, let's talk about some hardware. I was like, what are you doing? Are you trolling us? And then the last thing, of course, it showed up again was Final Fantasy VII with more to come in June. Some people, I love that game. I never finished it because of corrupted save data on those memory cards back in the day. But... and I know a lot of people are upset that it's going to be episodic. I saw that news today on Twitter that they did reconfirm that it was going to be episodic. And people were like, oh, I can't believe this. No, but I think people forgot that they announced that when they told us that back in 2016 or 15, whenever they showed Final Fantasy Remake the first time. They said, hey, by the way, this is probably going to be episodic because it's so massive. I mean, the original game came on 3 discs.
Wow.
And so not only did it come on 3 discs, it took a freaking lot of space up, right, to run and everything. And so I don't know why people would think all of a sudden that, a game like that, because it looks, I mean, if you ever look side by side of the original and the new one that they've shown, it's absurd how much work they've done on this. Like it's insane. Yeah. And so I can't imagine why people would think that this is not going to be episodic. I can't even imagine how many gigabytes this is going to take up on your hard drive. You know what I mean? I bet it's probably going to be, I bet it sets, and I said this on Twitter this morning, I shared this, I guarantee that unless something else comes out between now and then, I wouldn't be shocked if the Final Fantasy VII Remake being episodic like that, if it doesn't set a precedent for like being like 200 gigs total on your hard drive.
Yeah.
I could see it being something really absurd. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy though.
They're still targeting for PS4, right? The way they're advertising this. And so that means it has to be coming out soon, I would think, like maybe by 2020. But at the same time, I don't know. They just haven't said anything about it, so I'd be shocked if it did. We'll see what happens. I'm excited about it. That's not my pick, though. You said Away was your pick, the survival.
Away is 100% my pick. Yeah.
Yeah. I think mine was probably either River Bond or Medieval. If I had to go with something new, I didn't know it was coming, I would say River Bond. Just for the sake of loving Medieval, I'd say Medieval as well. And so we'll see. But
we shall see. You're right.
As a whole, how do you feel about this state of play? Because a lot of people got on them about the last one and were pretty upset about them. But I wanted to kind of gauge your reaction.
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was succinct. It was kind of short, to the point. It revealed some new stuff, which I think is always awesome. I don't know. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, I mean, I definitely don't. I'm not mad at them for any reason.
Yeah, and I feel like some people are a little upset, expecting some sort of blockbuster announcement.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. At least not now.
No, not right now, right?
Yeah, maybe before E3.
Maybe they drop a Last of Us surprise.
Yeah.
Surprise, we're out in November or something crazy like that. But I really don't see how they could come out with anything big. And I think Sony, unfortunately, for whatever reason, maybe it's because they're the industry leader, maybe it's because we're used to them blowing our minds at like the bigger press conferences, are suffering from grand delusion, maybe is what I want to say, of its fans. I do think a lot of people are expecting every one of these to have blockbuster games and to blow us away.
Yeah.
The first one I really appreciated as a PSVR owner, that they clearly are going to continue to support PSVR and announce a lot of games. This one, they said, look, it's going to be 10 minutes. Or I think it was like 13 total. They said, we're going to give you an extended look at Medieval and a couple other smaller games, plus a third-party game, which everybody knew was Final Fantasy VII because the director of the game couldn't keep his mouth shut on Twitter. He kept retweeting and saying how excited he was for Thursday. And so everybody knew Final Fantasy VII was coming too.
Yeah, nice of him to let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I thought everything was fine. I mean, it was cool. If Monster Hunter World's 12 million copies, why not advertise an expansion pass then? River Bond was something I didn't know I wanted.
Yeah.
Predator gives me something to look forward to next year if I liked Friday the 13th. Medieval has clearly been on people's radar. Away is a nice, different type of game. The Days of Play thing was really cool with the, hardware if you're a Sony fan who just likes that kind of stuff. And then Final Fantasy VII, I think, lived up to what people were hoping to see a little bit more,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't really, what was the first state of play? Was it in April?
Maybe.
I have to look and
I
see.
feel like it wasn't that close.
No?
No, maybe March. I feel like it was at least 2 months ago now.
Okay. Yeah, so, if they're going to continue to do these every, let's say, month and a half to 2 months, they're not all going to be blockbusters. They're not all going to blow your mind. And so I think that's okay.
March 25th.
Okay, so April's a full month, 25th, and then, so a month and a half. I was right.
Yeah, 6 weeks.
Yeah, if they do it every 6 weeks, you don't need blockbuster announcements. They're just trying to remind you of all the stuff that's coming.
Yeah.
Or the stuff that you don't know is coming that they want to surprise you with.
Honestly, that's just a roadmap, right? That's like a seasonal roadmap.
Yeah.
Which is what most companies are doing these days. Like even like Psyonix and Fortnite, they're usually pretty good about, okay, this is what we have planned in the upcoming months.
Yeah.
So
I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's smart of them to do that. Plus, I don't know, a lot of little announcements keeps you more engaged, in my opinion.
I agree.
Keeps you coming back.
It keeps you in the ecosystem.
Yeah,
makes
exactly.
Makes you feel like you're interested in just everything they have to offer, because it's every couple months they're reminding you of how much you can do.
Exactly.
And so I'm okay with it. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. It was exactly what I wanted. I didn't feel disappointed, and so that's good with me as a whole. Yeah. So that's really, I guess, what I wanted to cover regarding that. Anything you want to see from them in the next one?
Well, let's see.
Let's say 6 weeks from now, which would be middle of June, probably right after E3, unless they just decide to drop us with one right before E3.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think if it's after E3, they have to announce PlayStation 5.
Oh, see, I don't think they're ready for that yet.
I mean, you know that's what Xbox is going to do.
Yeah, and I think they're
Right.
waiting to see maybe what they do.
Well, that's what I mean. So, like, if it's in 6 weeks and Xbox drops that as a thing, they're definitely going to announce it in their next state of play.
Okay.
Because I don't think they can afford to let it sit too long. You know what I mean? Like, sure, you're not going to be at E3. That's fine. But if, Microsoft and Xbox are going to come out with a major announcement like a new system, you can't be behind the 8 ball too long, right?
Yeah, and I just wonder if maybe that small announcement they had in Wired magazine was enough to get people remembering.
Yeah, maybe. But I think if they're like, okay, if Xbox is like, okay, here it is. This is what it looks like. These are the specs. This is this is exactly what we're aiming for and what's going to happen. Then I think that might force Sony's hand a bit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I'm not saying they want to.
Right.
But, I mean, if you look at all the major, all the times that things have been released, right? Usually the system is showcased the year before at E3, is it not?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it almost wouldn't make sense to me if they didn't.
Right.
I mean, unless they do it in another state of play later. But again, I feel like if Xbox reveals it at E3, then they're going to wait. Then waiting another 6 weeks, or however long they decide to wait for the next state of play might be a little
too long.
Yeah, too long. A little kind of stupid.
Okay. Depending on the timing of it, I would like to see them show off some of the. And I know that they have talked about it, but they could do some more. Days Gone seems to be selling well for them. I would like to see them talk a little bit about the Days Gone's DLC or free updates that are coming out. And so, depending on the timing of that would be a great way to remind people. Oh, we just had Days Gone. Remember how much you love that? Well, look at all this new stuff, survival mode, all this stuff. This is it in action. Just show us like a little trailer.
Yeah. Yeah,
I would like to see that. Yeah, I would like to see that next one. I think maybe you pull out something a little bit more. I was a little surprised it wasn't in this one a little bit more to remind people that Dreams is out there. Maybe show some of the community builds of different things that people have been doing in Dreams and say, you know what, for $30, maybe you don't want to build your own levels, but look how many created levels and how many created pieces of content you can play, and take like the top most played user created stuff and remind people that Dreams is out there as well.
Yeah.
I think that would be smart.
Oh,
and then,
that would definitely be a smart move.
Yeah, and then depending on when you do it it in June, remind us how much we need Crash Team Racing. Right? I mean, seriously, because it's June 21st. So if you do one even a week before, right around E3 or after E3, or even if it's right before E3 and you do it again, show off, remind us again about Crash Team Racing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not a bad thing. And I know some people would moan and go, well, we already know about that, and we already know about Days Gone, but that's okay. And so maybe that was smart on their part that they steered away from all of that stuff, reminding us again, because they did highlight a lot of things that I did not expect. I was trying to make predictions on Twitter yesterday, and I did not. Final Fantasy VII I got right because everybody got that right. That was like a 1-to-1 odd. And I looked at the rest of my predictions, and they weren't even close. I mean, I put some long shots on there just to be safe, but as a whole, I had no idea. I thought for sure that maybe they pull something crazy out their rear, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Looking back, I'm trying to see what I said, and so far, my poll, people said that I had 33% of the audience said that this exceeded expectations. 33% said below, and 34% they haven't watched it yet. So that's good to know too.
Yeah, it's pretty evenly split.
Yeah, so far. Okay, so I had Final Fantasy VII re-reveal, PSVR Everybody's Golf, and Blood and Truth. I thought they'd talk about those since they're coming out this month. I thought for sure, because Kojima was teasing that he's been working on a new trailer on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, and he said he couldn't wait for Friday, which Thursday over here when that would have revealed would have been Friday in Japan. I thought for sure we were getting a Death Stranding new trailer.
Yeah.
I said Dreams Are Concrete Genie advert, and then I said my long shot would be revealing Rocksteady's game or The Last of Us Part 2 trailer. But oh well, I tried.
Yeah.
All right. So
you tried.
I did. That's going to wrap up that conversation. Let's just talk about the other thing that was revealed yesterday. It was kind of a big day in gaming, and this is why I joked about E3. Who really cares? Because I thought yesterday I got plenty of stuff to hold me over for the summer to look forward to. Yesterday was also a Ghost Recon sequel to Wildlands was announced, right?
Yeah.
And it is called, I just blanked on it.
Breakpoint.
Breakpoint, thank you. What was your thoughts on that? Because you watched it just recently.
Yeah, I watched both the official cinematic trailer, which I thought was really well done. I felt like it kind of melded into each other, which for me was interesting because it kind of helped me understand the gameplay a little bit more. But I'll kind of cut back to that in a second. But so then I watched the gameplay, which was pretty intense. I mean, I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed what they did with the it seemed HUD-less. And again, I don't know if that's going to be final product. Whether they're going to just have no HUD for the duration or for the majority of the game, or if it's going to be something that you can choose or alter yourself. But
toggle, yeah, that'd be kind of nice to toggle it.
Yeah. But I mean, it was pretty interesting to see kind of things just kind of randomly pop up, to prompt you.
Yeah.
So.
Is it a game you think you'd want to buy?
Maybe. Because, it depends on how much survival is involved, with the feeding and all that, all that crazy stuff.
Yeah, we didn't see any of that, but I read from
we didn't
IGN.
See any, but you talked to me about that beforehand.
Yeah, IGN reported they got some hands-on, and although they didn't see it either, they did tell them, if you fall from too far, you're going to be injured, you're going to have to repair yourself, you're going to have to feed your guy, you're going to have to sleep, or otherwise he'll be shaky, or he might, not perform as well when you're in combat, and so it sounds light, but enough to impact your play experience.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, we'll see, but I mean, it looks really interesting, and if it's something that we could play together, because it did look Division-esque, it did look like, it's something that you and I could play, someone could be a sniper or something else, or, so, it'd be interesting to see exactly what it turns out to be, but I mean, I could see myself buying it.
It is very heavy, I think, Division-esque, and I think they've taken what they've learned from Division and Far Cry and all that stuff, and they're applying it. Because from what I understand is it looks like the gameplay is very similar to Wildlands. And so if you enjoyed Wildlands, you're probably not going to have a problem with this. If you didn't like Wildlands, you may not enjoy this as much.
Right.
You and I can't speak to that because neither one of us bought that.
Right.
But it also seems like what they're doing with it, and what I'm kind of fascinated with, is not just the survival elements, but they've seemed like they've taken community feedback about the fences, because I saw a lot of people on community threads saying, thankfully, we can finally cut through fences instead of wandering all the way around. They've increased it from 3 to 4 players. That protagonist is the same one from the first game, except we don't know how much time has passed. It's in a futuristic setting instead of Bolivia. and it's also in a fictional setting as well. And so that allows them to do some crazy stuff, I think, with it that they couldn't with the first one because they were trying to be more grounded.
Right. That makes sense.
The other things I've learned or read about since that reveal was that they also seem to be planning a long roadmap, kind of like they did with the Division. They have the end game in mind.
Yeah.
And if the Division's 2 is any sign of that, then Ubisoft's got something really smart planned out. Because I thought the Division 2 roadmap post-game has been really good.
Oh, for sure.
Like, just seeing what we have ahead of us is super exciting.
Yeah.
The other thing I read, I'm trying to remember all this off the top of my head. The other thing that really struck me or I thought was really fascinating was that they said that they want to really focus on making sure that it's fun, I guess, to play. I guess people found the first one a little bit boring as well. And so I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look like it's tailored to a single player experience though either. And I think that's the problem with the first one was people still wanted to play it single player.
Yeah.
And so you had the AI teammates, but it was best enjoyed with people. And so like I love the Division too, but you and I have way more fun enjoying playing that connected.
Oh yeah.
It's like the perfect, co-op game. And I imagine with 3 or 4 people it's even crazier, and you've experienced that a little bit, I think.
I have, yeah.
I did one mission, I think, where there was 3 people, and I remember being insane. And I didn't realize there was 3 at first. I was like, why are there so many more men?
So I don't know. I don't know if it was either you sent it to me or I sent it to you, or I just randomly saw it on Reddit. It's talked about like how this guy randomly jumped in to give help or get. I think he was playing a mission. He called for help, and this guy randomly like jumped in and he basically saved their butts. You know what I mean? Like he like came in, revived them all, and like took out all the guys. So as a thank you, they like gave him all the loot.
Oh wow!
They just like dropped a ton of loot, and it looked like a kid on Christmas. He was just like running around like a crazy little thing, like trying to click up all the things that he could.
That's hilarious.
And it's little stuff like that that's like really cool that people do for each other. You know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, really, thanks for helping me. I appreciate you, and your ability to help me out with this thing. So, take this loot. I really just needed the mission. I really wanted to get that done, or because it was on hard mode or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely did not see that. So you must have been something you checked out.
Yeah. But it's that's the kind of coolness that I enjoy about that game, because you can just like meet up with random people and you get that kind of nice like that. As long as you're out of the dark zone. I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely.
When you're in the dark zone, it can be different for sure. But
yeah, and so that's definitely something that jumps out at me, and I'm excited about. And so I think that's the kind of game that if I know there are people purchasing it, that I'm like you, or if anybody else on our list is going to, I would definitely jump in.
Right.
And so I think that's how that game thrives. That game will thrive on people being able to connect with one another, because it does look like it's built for that. And with AI, no matter how advanced it is, it just isn't the same.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I thought that was a good reveal. And as a whole, I thought yesterday was kind of nice. Like you got that in the afternoon, you got the state of play at night. And so I thought as a whole, especially for the PlayStation ecosystem, it was an exciting day.
Oh,
and I imagine
absolutely.
that's how people feel on Nintendo Direct days too, that it's an exciting day.
Yeah, of course.
And so I really actually appreciate that and value that, and that's why I'm okay with there not being an E3 presence this year, because I also would hate for Sony to show up and be like, so here's some Days Gone DLC, and we're working on some stuff, but we can't tell you about it. Oh, and here's a God of War documentary.
Yeah, exactly.
And so stuff that we're like, okay, that's really cool, but we wanted something blockbuster. I would hate for them to go to E3 and have nothing to show. And so I know a lot of people are upset that they're not going to E3 and they feel like they're cheating the show, or that, there's problems with that. But I would be concerned if they showed up and Sony was like, so we don't really have anything, but we know you want us to be here. Because then what good is that? Then I'm just going to be really irritated that they even showed up.
Exactly.
It's kind of like if Xbox and Nintendo both don't have, if Xbox and Nintendo don't announce that they have some sort of like deal where they're working together now, I think people are going to be super disappointed. I know this is our PlayStation podcast, but I think people will be like, well, what the heck? I've heard all these rumors for months that you guys are going to like be doing this stuff together and all this kind of thing, and then you don't do anything. You haven't said anything. You just show up, and E3 works best when you have blockbuster announcements.
Oh, of course.
Because I can't
I'd be completely shocked if if Xbox doesn't announce a new console.
Oh, yeah. Well, they will. I mean, guaranteed. And so I think they'll also announce a partnership with Nintendo that's even more heavy than what we see now. you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would rather Sony come back next year to E3 and say, here's PlayStation 5. Here's the new PSVR unit that also is coming out. We've already told you, though, that all your PSVR stuff is backwards compatible. All your PS4 games are backwards compatible. Here's the release date. Here's the launch games. You know, here's Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2 are all be available not only on PS4, but also day one on PS5. So you have a choice, like something magnificent like that. And then you can come to E3. Or I don't even care if they snub E3 again and they say, hey, by the way, we know E3 is next week, but here's our state of play thing 3 days before E3, and they announce all that in a huge state of play. And they're like, enjoy E3 if you want, but we've just given you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Take the steam out of the sales, so to speak. We'll see. I like this because E3 I get is like Christmas for gamers. That's the classic view. But I really I'd rather get stuff all year round. I don't need something once a year.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather get awesome announcements every 6 weeks from Sony like this and say, hey, every 6 weeks, we're going to tell you what's going on in the ecosystem. Here's games that you wouldn't normally look at. I have not heard a single thing about Riverbond before this.
Yeah, me either.
And so that was a nice, and I mean, my ears are the ground with news all the time. I didn't see it reported anywhere or announced anywhere. And so that was great. Like, do that every 6 weeks. Hey, here's a game you didn't know you needed, but you may want to check out if you're not too busy playing our other AAA games.
Right.
So, all right. Anyway, Ghost Recon looks great. The state of play I thought was good. And I'm not just touting because I'm a Sony fanboy or anything like that. I genuinely thought they were both fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually excited about Ghost Recon at first. I do like John Brethnall, the guy that's Punisher, that's going to be the villain. And so for me, that was kind of a selling point. But I do think that, they look like, from what I've been able to tell, they've fixed, or they've got the people who loved Wildlands even more excited than the people who weren't so sure about Wildlands, like me, kind of looking at this one going, maybe I will jump in on this one. Maybe Breakpoint will be the one to jump in on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So just to wrap things up, I thought maybe we don't have the PS blog because we're recording a little bit early this week, and that's fine. This was meant to be more of a special kind of state of play reaction discussion episode. I thought what we could do, though, is I wanted to do a 2-minute review, and I just wanted to talk very briefly about God's Trigger, because it was a little game that came out on the PS4 a couple weeks ago, and it hasn't gotten much attention, but I'm going to talk for 2 minutes about that.
All right, your 2 minutes starts now.
Whoa. So this is God's Trigger. It's a tiny little game, indie game. It's very, just to sum it up very quickly, it is released March of 2018. It's by developer One More Level. Publisher was Techland Publishing. And it's a top-down Hotline Miami style game. It's also meant to be played co-op on your couch. And so if you have a buddy, it works really well because you can control 2 different characters and really unleash some chaos and some combos together. If you don't have that, I played it through the whole thing single player, switching between the 2 characters. You're still very much able to actually do some really cool stuff where one character might do something, you can switch to the other one and do something again real quick. It's very strategic. Hotline Miami, I always felt like I was running through. I was just running and trying to memorize level patterns and enemy locations and just blasting. I like the way I can look ahead with this one, and then what I can do is I can plot it out and go, okay, I'll whip this guy, I'll shoot this guy, I'll break through the wall and sneak attack this guy. And so I loved, there's some strategy involved with it, but you can also run and gun through it as much as you want.
Less than a minute.
Okay. Once you hit level 30, it's a great game because then you have all the powers unlocked. You can switch between them with a touch of a D-pad once your charger is full and kind of mess around with all that kind of stuff as well. Do I recommend buying it? Absolutely. If you love top-down shooters or top-down games, yes. Is it story cheesy? Is it a little, ridiculous with the voice acting? Absolutely, but it's still enjoyable. It's got a 91% on Google. It's got a 9 out of 10 on Steam. I highly recommend it. I think that most people will probably find it fun. But I do think you give it a shot. Watch some gameplay video if you want to. And what I really enjoyed was there's enough boss battles, but it's also probably I think my total playtime was 4 to 5 hours. So it's also a short game you can really enjoy in that regard as well. That's all I've got about that one.
Oh, just under the gun! You finished half a second early. Nailed it.
I was watching myself. I was trying to keep
nailed
the time. And so, yeah, I think it's worth it though. It's a fun little thing. Which actually, it's funny that we did do the 2-minute review because I asked people on Twitter and they're like 4 to 7 minutes is ideal. Well, I just want to say I think I said everything I needed to say in 2 minutes. So
yep,
take that. All right. That's all I've really got. We still filled an hour, so we're good.
We still did. You're right.
Yeah.
Most of an hour, yeah.
Most of an hour. That's good enough.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
All right. Well, that's all I've got. If you like what you heard, subscribe to us on Patreon. If you didn't want to do that and you didn't want to throw $1 away, then you can go ahead and just rate us on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We appreciate those 5-star reviews. Recommend us to friends if you'd like as well. We appreciate that. Just get the word out. We would really love to continue to do this. I'm in a position where I would love even more to continue to do this with my professional life, so that would be fantastic if that could happen. And that's all I've really got. So I just want to say thanks for hanging out with us. And until next time, game on.
Game on. This is the outro music. The Rob's weird phrase is outro music because you said the steam in your sails and it's actually the wind in your sails.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Well, steam sails it is.
Steam sails, outro music. Woo!